Hi everyone, and hi replay viewers. Welcome to this week's event. My name is Ileana Betancourt, and I'm the marketing manager here at Edulastic. And I'm really excited for this week's event because we're here with Evan Houdieshell, and he's going to be talking a bit about how he uses digital assessment at Northmont City Schools, where he's the Instructional Technology Specialist. Hi, Evan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We're happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so before we do dive into our conversation with Evan, I did want to take the moment to just tell everyone that if you, first of all, I just want to share this broadcast online, so you can make sure everyone's seeing it. Okay, there we go. And I want to welcome everyone who's joining us right now. So once again, we're here with Evan Houdieshell, who's an Instructional Technology Specialist at Northmont City Schools in Ohio. Again, before diving in, I just want to let everyone know that if you are getting into digital assessment, if you're new with Edulastic, if you've been using Edulastic, it's a great time while the year is gearing up or right after you've gotten started to take a look at our new features. So you can head over to our blog or our YouTube channel to see the latest features that we have, which include folders and a whole new assessment dashboard to organize the assessments that you have. And this is great for people who've been using assessments on a regular basis. Either you're just getting started for the year and you want to organize them by units or classes, or maybe you've been using digital assessment for the past few years. So we're really hoping that that new update is something that you'll find super beneficial. The other resources that I want to bring to your attention are a couple new blog posts about different assessment types. So we know that a lot of people who use Edulastic use it for a variety of things, from formative assessment to summative assessment, diagnostic assessments, pre-tests, preparing for state testing. If you use it for any of those, also just give a shout out right now and let us know what type of assessment you're using Edulastic for, or you're giving throughout your class that you need digital assessment to help you with. So we'd like to hear from you. The other thing is throughout our broadcast today, we also are welcoming any questions about Edulastic in general, or for Evan, our special guest, as he talks about what he's doing at his school and how he works with the teachers there and with digital assessment. We're also going to be coming out with a standards-based grading blog. We know a lot of teachers have been either transitioning to digital standards-based grading or are interested in standards-based grading, and there are some features that Edulastic already has and some features that are being added this September to help you even further do standards-based grading at your school. The whole idea, again, of standards-based grading is that I think it's nice because it adds transparency and it helps students helps students understand the skills they need to master and what exactly they need to know. So focusing on that rather than a letter grade. So grades have more meaning with standards-based grading in a sense. But again, everyone has a different strategy for different reasons. And then the other plug I wanted to put in was for our recent post on personalized learning and differentiated learning. So a couple of different pedagogical strategies out there for using digital assessment in your classroom. All right. And now, if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask them. I'm also just going to put out for everyone on Periscope a little message that you can also subscribe to our Periscope to get future updates on when we have live broadcasts and events. And then finally, this is our fourth. Naomi's over here with me. She's been working on these Edulastic live events. Our fourth Edulastic live event, our goal is to help teachers connect and also to share really cool stories of what you guys are doing. So we hear so many cool things about how Edulastic's being used, how digital assessment's being used, and we want to share that because it's really cool. There's so many people across the country doing really cool things. So, and if anyone has been on one of our previous events, give a little shout out. And I'm seeing a couple of familiar names. So welcome back. We're glad that you're tuning in, and we appreciate your feedback moving forward too. All right. Cool. All right. So let's start chatting with Evan because I'm curious about I think it's time to chat about what you're doing and how. Why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about your Edulastic story? So, what kind of brought you to today? How did you discover it? And start at the beginning.
Yeah, sure thing. I was a fifth grade teacher prior to taking in the role that I'm in right now. Several years ago, we had a high school teacher attend a conference out in Colorado, and she found out about Edulastic out there, so she brought it back to our district. Kind of jumped on board really quickly. I was looking for something in math that I could use as a quick assessment tool that would speed along the process and really, for me, be able to provide feedback much quicker to my students. So I jumped on board really quick. Luckily, our fifth grade math team through our district at that point did the same. I have to give a shout out to our curriculum specialist, Christy Geiger, who was able to support us and said, we'll support you, whatever you guys want to do here, give it a shot. So we started to develop some common assessments through Edulastic, and just kind of took off from there. So ended up using it for pre-testing, post-testing. I would throw it in as little entrance slips, exit slips to end the day. So it just kind of took off naturally in my mind, and I absolutely loved it. And now my goal is to kind of translate that to the other teachers in the role that I'm in now. So
cool. And so, what was the process of discovering it and deciding that it was something that would work for you?
I think it definitely took some trial and error in my part. At first, the first time I tried to build an assessment, it was a little difficult in my mind. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was one of those ones that the more I did it, the more I felt comfortable with it. And really, for me, the first time that I was able to give a test and get feedback for my kids almost immediately. Sorry, my cat is having a big old sneezing fit at the moment, and I'm just waiting for her to say shocking. So, yeah.
Because I say it to your cat. We hope he or she feels
exactly. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but she's. Oh yeah. So sorry about that.
No worries.
That's why I was laughing earlier while you were talking, because she was on the table and it was bouncing up and down. I'm like, here we go.
Aww. Well, she wants some limelight too. Feel free to pull
if she jumps up here, I'll grab her.
Okay.
So for me, it was really getting that feedback immediately and seeing where can I help my kids, where can I help my students at. So yeah, going through there.
Great, that's awesome. I wonder if we'll get a hairball during this.
It's possible. I don't know. I think she's just trying to get on the internet. We'll see.
She wants to be one of those famous cats that
Bingo.
gets a lot of things.
Bingo.
I totally understand. Cool. So, and I remember you had said before that you had discovered it because there was a teacher that was at a conference in Denver.
Yeah.
Cool. What is your school? I guess what are you and your colleagues usually looking for when it comes to technology when you go to those types of events?
I would say for us, we're looking for things that we would feel like improves our instruction from day to day and gives us a better view of where our students are. Mm-hmm. And for us, it was something that immediately we knew we could bring back, and one, it would save time for us as teachers, and yet still prepare our kids, because we do take all of our state testing now is online. So we knew that was going to be another step for us that we could provide another prep for our kids for. So
cool. And so when your colleague brought it back, were you working with other people when you were using it, or were you working alone on digital assessment to figure it out?
At first, it started with just myself, and then when I felt like it was really something that we wanted to use, I got in touch with our curriculum specialist, and she was the one that really brought it to me at first and said, "Hey, you should probably try this. I know you're big into tech. You're big into rolling tech into your curriculum." Mm-hmm. And so when we started to go back and forth and have some conversations, she goes, I think you should speak up and talk to our full fifth grade team about this. Mm-hmm. So then it branched out to our fifth grade team, and then it branched out across several other subjects. I had a co-teacher in mind that we started using it for language arts. She then continued to use it for science, and then it kind of just took on a groundswell throughout our district. And I would say a good chunk, at least the elementary school that I was in, a good chunk of probably third grade through sixth were using it pretty frequently. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's kind of the same way throughout the elementaries in the rest of our district. We have 5 elementary schools now. So I would say it was very, very commonly used throughout the district once it was brought back and once we really saw that it was something that we wanted to use. And I know our high school really, really wants to learn more about it. I know that there's kids that group of kids that we got started with now are up into the high school and they're used to it. So when they're used to it and they realize, okay, this is something that we're used to, and they kind of speak up to their teachers, and their teachers are starting to catch on as well.
Right. And so you were originally a fifth grade math teacher.
Yes.
So you said for about 6 years, and now you're transitioning to now you're the Instructional Technology Specialist.
Got it.
So a lot of teachers on Edulastic, originally when we have a question, but let me just finish what I'm saying, and then we'll go to it. Awesome. Originally when you were starting, so a lot of teachers, we have a huge math contingent, you could say, of teachers and content. What was it like coming from math, and now you're working with a whole bunch of teachers, to see other teachers from other subjects joining Edulastic? What was it like? What was their experience compared to yours from what you've seen?
I would say at first they all kind of were overwhelmed as well. There's a lot that's available, and that, I think, overwhelmed them at first. But then we realized when we were able to sit down and talk and say, let's pick out one standard. Let's start small. Let's start with, a 5-question assessment or a quick 10-question assessment that you could use as a pre-test or you could use as a post-test. I think once they saw the use in it, and once they saw that it really wasn't as hard as what they thought, they didn't have to create anything, like the question banks were there for them. They could pick and choose the questions that they wanted. They could preview what they wanted. I think that was where we got more and more people on board. So that tended to be the big shift for us in realizing that, yes, it can be a little overwhelming at first because there is a lot of stuff on it, but at the same time, use it to your advantage. There is a lot of questions available to you. You can pick and choose through what you want and go along those lines.
Right. So we have the question that was asked kind of goes along with what I just asked, which is great. It's great minds think alike. How did you get the other members on your team to give it a try? So maybe you can speak more specifically to that.
I think for me, like the first thing that I showed them what really got them on board were seeing that they didn't necessarily have to grade anything. When they saw really quickly that it was all computer graded, and they realized like it would cut down their grading time, it was a huge sell for them. So that was really how I hooked them in. And then realizing that even if you did do questions where it had to be manually graded, the cut down time was still gigantic for me. And it would take some other people some time too as well, because I feel like I'm pretty tech savvy when it comes to that. But at the same time, you can learn as long as you're willing to learn about it. So I think that for me, it started as definitely the quickness of the grading, especially since they didn't have to do it. It was already in there, done for them. And then it just transitioned into, okay, there are some really good questions on there that will make my kids think deeper, or, I can add my own questions in to take that stretch if there's nothing that's available. So
cool. Yeah, the time saved is nice. I do think that initially, so something that comes up or that I'd be curious about, because I know that initially sometimes it can take time to onboard and figure out how you're doing assessments and all that. But then once you have your assessments lined up, it's pretty easy. You just kind of assign them.
Without a doubt.
Things go. Yeah. So when you're, as you're helping your teachers get ready, I guess thinking about back to school in a way, how are you guys getting your content that you're using? Your assessment content?
So far, I would say the people who have been using it frequently have used kind of the question bank. See, okay, I've told you, I'll give you a little, she's here. So, see how much she hates this, but say hi.
Oh, okay. Yay, cat moment.
Exactly, cat moment. She was sitting here right here, and she was going up and down, so I was like, I got to get her off. So, I would say, first off, we tried to narrow it down by standards. We tried to pick out that one standard or the two standards that you really want to assess, and let's build from there. That's where I try to start with everybody, to keep it simple, keep it where you have that guideline. And so that's where I've tried to influence our staff and just say, let's build up from there. Some have taken it to a whole block of standards. Some have taken it to a year-long level standard, and tested multiple standards, or 10 or 15 at a time. But I would highly recommend start with one or two standards and move up from there.
Gotcha. And so is that creating content from scratch, or working from the assessment library, or mix of both?
I would say I definitely started with what was there. Definitely that seemed to be the easier side. It took a little while for me to get to the point where I wanted to try my own. But then once we were there, once you have enough practice with it, it's really pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It does take some time, but as I talked with some middle school teachers today, and they're really concerned about how much time it's going to take. And excuse me, we had the conversation that if you do it 1 year, it's not going to go anywhere. Like, you have it now for however many years you want to use it. Yeah. So yes, it's a lot of work in the front part, but then it saves your time so much more later on down the line. Or really, once you do it once or twice, the cut down in time as you go along really tends to dwell. It really tends to dwindle quite a bit. So
great. And so everyone who's watching has a little more background. Are you using the free version of Edulastic, the Teacher Premium, or the school version?
We have the school version. We purchased the school version, I believe, last year. Okay. That was the first year that we had the school version of it. So
you're able to see the district or the school-wide report.
Yes. Yes.
Is this the I think the district is the whole. It's district-wide.
Yes, we have the district. Yeah, we have the district one because I can compare with other fifth grade teachers. When I was there, I was definitely comparing with other fifth grade teachers and can see their data as well.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
And I feel like you have a cool perspective going from being a fifth grade math teacher to a technology specialist. What was that transition like, and what was something coming from that position that you really wanted to make sure you brought with you to the new position?
Understood. I would say I'm only about 17, 18 days into it. I started August 1st, so if you can't take out the weekend. But for me, the biggest thing that I wanted to bring is in my classroom, I loved bringing technology pieces in. You could tell that that's what engages the kids in my mind a lot more than anything of the sit-down types, paper and pencil types, even just the conversations. The tech is where they wanted to use, what they wanted to do. Even with testing, they seemed to me that they had a preference of doing it that way. So to me, actually with the big thing this year for us is we just went one-to-one throughout the entire district with iPads. Cool. So building in that's been my biggest thing right now is trying to get just our teachers comfortable with those and trying to give them resources and tips and tricks on what can be useful within their class. That's been my big thing. And then now it's really starting to build where, conversations have gone into, okay, what can we do for online testing? What can we do for this and this and this? So that's been the biggest shift was getting everything passed out, getting everything in their hands, making sure teachers were at least starting to feel comfortable with it. And now it's transitioning into, okay, what can we do to enhance our curriculum with that?
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
And it's back to school season. You guys started school recently. A lot of people are on the East Coast are thinking about gearing up for school, which starts for them after Labor Day. Other people are already half a month into school.
Yep.
For you guys, what was that process of gearing up when it came to digital assessment? And did you have trainings? And there's a lot of energy in the beginning of school. What did that look like?
Right. If I go back to when I was a teacher, I know that we would always try to meet up roughly about probably a couple weeks prior to school starting. I remember sitting through trainings with Edulastic. We did it a couple times. And then it would really just start to gear up towards, okay, where does our team want to take our students this year? And what do we need to adjust? Where did we do well in the state tests? Where did we see that our kids had a gap? Or, looking at the grade that was coming up, where were their gaps? So trying to gear our instruction and gear our assessments towards what we see were the deficiencies and what we see as their strengths. So that was a big thing for us. Now, I would say my transition this year has really been towards, okay, what resources can I provide to teachers that would take their instruction to that next level? Mm-hmm. So I know I've had a lot of teachers reach out to me about Edulastic. I've had some other teachers reach out about other resources that are available. So it's been a total change of pace. I've loved it so far. But it's definitely been totally different than gearing up for a classroom rather than gearing up to support our staff.
Right. So. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. And then I guess looking back a little bit, you were mentioning that you were using digital assessment for exit tickets and other types of. Yep. So how frequently was that? What did a typical week or month with digital assessment look like?
For me, a typical week, I would try to give roughly about 2 or 3 exit tickets a week using Edulastic. For me, I tried to keep them short and sweet. It was normally somewhere in the range of 2 to 3 questions, sometimes probably the max of 5, just to say, I wanted it to quick 5 to 10 minute little check-in just to see where everybody was, just to see, okay, where do I need to lead off the next day, going along there, because I tried to limit homework. It's a whole nother discussion, but I tried to limit my homework, the amount I gave. So, that I kind of used as my guide for what I'd be doing the next day. So after a couple of those, we'd build into, for a month, Kind of if I was looking at a unit that we were teaching, I'd start with that pre-test that we'd built, give those little extra tickets along the way, kind of check in, and then we build it up to our post-test. And luckily, it made it really nice that our post-tests for ours were also our common assessments throughout our district. So we came together as a fifth grade group to really build those after each of our chapters in our book, and try to give the same assessment for each kid in our district so we could have a really good picture, really clear picture of where our fifth graders were throughout the district, to see, what are we working, what are we doing well with, and what do we need to improve on.
Great, so. Awesome. I love those quick checks during the week. I think that's a huge advantage of the immediate
without
feedback. Yeah. All right, question from the audience. As a former math teacher and now tech specialist, do you plan on attending department meetings, staff meetings, or do you just wait for them to approach you?
It is my intention to join every staff meeting. Luckily, we haven't started those yet. We start them in mid-September. We kind of go grade by grade at that time, and just kind of do some small check-ins, but we have 2 or 3 roughly a year that we sit down and get a chance to talk with them. So it is my intention to be there, especially because I feel like most of our district is going towards that online assessment piece, and also then trying to sit in and say, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's what you're doing. What can I do to provide resources available to you technology-wise? So definitely we'll be sitting in on those. And just I feel like I try to build a steady communication stream with our staff. It's really been the feeling out process right now of saying, what's my schedule going to be like this year? Because I want to be visible in the buildings. I don't want to sit behind a desk and just say, hey, here's another good thing for you. I want to be out there and kind of hands-on with them. So it's been a little difficult trying to figure out what my schedule is going to be, but it seems like we've kind of found the sweet spot where I kind of spend a half day in every building every week. But with having that flexibility of saying, if there's something going on or somebody's giving their first test digitally, that I could pop in and say, hey, I'll give you guys 35, 40 minutes, maybe even an hour, and say, let's work on this together. What can we troubleshoot while we're here so you feel more comfortable the next time when you're trying to give this yourself. So
great, thank you. And great question, Matt. Thanks for asking that. Cool. So if anyone has any other questions about what we have just been discussing, feel free to ask. I do want to dig a little bit into who are you and why are you a teacher? Some of the background of why you are here today doing what you're doing. So I'll just start out by asking, why did you become a teacher in the first place, Evan?
I had some fantastic teachers growing up. I know that the ones that really stick out to me, especially elementary-wise, were my second and fifth grade teachers. I still have contact with both. One actually was in her classroom the other day, and I said, this is really weird. And she even said the same thing when I was going in to help her set some stuff up. So it was kind of a fun little experience, and we talked about it in front of her third graders, so that was really fun. Cool. But just to see their love for it, I kind of knew from the get-go that by the time that I reached about 7th or 8th grade, I wanted to become a teacher. It was either that or a meteorologist, one of the two. So I ended up the teacher side of it. So, so I had those influences. I had a great set of teachers growing up. I mean, really all the way throughout. I grew up in a great district. Actually, ended up going back and teaching in the same district that I grew up in. So I had that pleasure. So it's been full of great people. I had great teachers along the way, and I feel like we have a great staff right now. That we have people who are passionate about not only educating our kids, but then just about the amount of care that they have for our kids too. That you can just tell that they radiate that, and that their main objective is to produce good citizens who are also can hopefully be competitive once they leave our district.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so, what do you love about teaching now? Thinking about the present.
To me, it's every day is a different thing. There's no days that are the same, and that it keeps you on your toes. There's no day that one day to the next you see the same things over and over. And I hope that's that way. I told my kids while I was in the classroom, and I'm experiencing that right now, that nothing is ever the same back to back to back days. So that's the challenge of it. It's more, to me, what makes it fun. I don't really do well with monotony, so I always try to change it up, and I always try to. I always told my kids, I said, you better be on your toes, because I'm likely to walk in one day and just say, hey, we're going to completely change something up. Let's see how it goes. So just love to have fun with it. And to me, I love the challenge of not knowing what to expect when the kids walk in the door, and at the same time just going with it and seeing where it takes us. So
that's awesome. Cool. And then what would you say to new teachers or those who are considering teaching?
I would say be ready for a challenge. There's not, to me, there's no more job that's rewarding than what you're doing if you become a teacher. I mean, you have an impact that you don't even know about, especially like I had the opportunity this year coming out of the classroom. I can't tell you how many kids that have come up to me and said, "You're not teaching anymore?" And I said, "No, I transitioned into this job where now I'm working with our staff to say this." And like, "Oh, well, I said, we can't believe that. You seemed like you loved it." And I'm like, I did love it. I still love it. I'd love to get back into it at some point. But I had to take this opportunity because I loved the tech side of what I was doing in my class. And that gave me this opportunity where hopefully I could pass that love on to our staff as well. But hearing those kids say that to me, it takes me back and it makes me realize like, hey, you make an impact. Yeah. That no matter what you do, you make an impact. So hopefully it's a positive one. And that, to me, that's the big challenge of, they may not remember, exactly what you taught me. They're going to remember exactly how you made them feel and what they experienced in your class. So
yeah, that's awesome. And the cool thing now is that you're teaching teachers, and so that you're also helping out all the students and the kids in the district. So in a way, what you're doing is amplified, even though you might not be working directly with them.
Right.
You can always go back to working directly with them. Sunday. Someone says, I had a teacher in 4th grade who became the tech person. In grade
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Sweet. And then what do you like to do in your free time?
Well, I've got a 2.5-year-old here at home. Luckily, she's up with Grandma and Grandpa tonight, or otherwise she'd probably be running around here like crazy too. She tried to be butt in like the cat was. So spending time with her and my wife. We actually have our second daughter on the way in November. So trying to get everything ready for her when she makes her arrival as well.
Cool.
I love anything to do with sports. I coached basketball for a few years. I'm taking this year off with the baby, but coaching basketball. I love to play golf. And just really anything sports related, I try to get my hand into. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Great. And then what are you looking forward to this year? I think you've already mentioned some things, but...
Yeah. To me, it's going to be the challenge of that transition from being in the classroom to supporting our educators.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a total mindset change.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely. Cool. If anyone has any questions, now is a good time to ask them, because I think we're going to wrap things up. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you'd want to pass on? Where'd you get your inspiration?
Not that I know of. God, sorry.
That's okay. All right.
No, I think I'm good to go. I mean, like I said, I appreciate you guys having me here.
Yeah.
Give me the opportunity to do this with you guys, and hopefully, if you are thinking about trying a digital assessment, give Edulastic a shot, because it's definitely one that to me it provided a ton of feedback for me immediately with my class, and my kids were ready to go with it as soon as we started to roll out. So it was definitely a piece I loved in my classroom, and hopefully start passing on to other people in our district.
Awesome. So. Thanks, Evan. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in today and for the great questions that have been asked throughout today's broadcast. And to wrap it up, we are going to have an Edulastic 101 event next week at this time. So if you're new to digital assessment or you're interested in Edulastic but aren't really sure how it works, that's a really great time to tune in, because our customer success manager, Jenny Takoyan, is going to be providing that overview. And every year it's kind of a hit. It's really fun. We have a bunch of people asking questions, and it's a very solid overview. I know that one person who had joined in ended up using the recording of that video when she was training teachers later on to use Edulastic. So and then after that we have a state testing Twitter chat that we hope everyone will join in on. We have Twitter chats every first Thursday of the month, so we hope you'll tune in for that. We'll send out reminders as well. All right. Thanks again, everyone. I'm seeing some thank yous come in on the chat. Thank you for joining. Love the interview. Thank you. Bravo. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Evan. It was really great talking
thank you guys.
To you here. And we'll sign off. And if anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. All right. Thanks, and take care. How do I end the